Hello, my friends. Have a very good day, wonderful evening. I don't know what time it is when you're listening to us or watching this program that Truth Be Told Radio Network is bringing to you every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with a repeat of the same program every Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. Just in case you lost it, again, Eastern Standard Time. Just in case you lost the broadcast, you have two chances to listen to it. But it gets a lot better. It gets a lot better because if you search on Truth Be Told Radio Network on Spotify, there you will find not only this broadcast, but you will find over 100 hours of programming, very much of this nature, very much in this line. And I hope that it interests you a lot because I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your health. I'm talking about health management and also disease management, because if we have an illness, we have to know how to deal with it. I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I have been working in this field for, I've been a doctor for over 50 years, but 40 years of those 50, I have devoted to alternative complementary medicine, to prevention. Prevention is actually one of the dearest things in my life, closest to my heart, because being a doctor is not always easy. Being a doctor is dealing with a lot of suffering, dealing with a lot of losses, dealing with a lot of problems that people live and have really imprinted in their lives forever. And how many times you have to remember, for example, the suffering or the problems you had health-wise in dealing with somebody that you really love, your mother, your father, your spouse, somebody really close to you, and you went through all this suffering. And one of the things that has caught my attention all the time is that I don't necessarily have to have a problem. And if I ever get it, I want it to be as mild as possible, as easy to manage as possible, as inexpensive as possible. And the important thing is that there are a lot of tools that I can set in motion to just be healthier in the first place, prevent disease whenever possible, and if ever I have a problem, I have to bounce back. I want to be resilient. I want to feel good and be able to manage it with the least suffering, with the least expense, with the least everything, and as short as possible. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Well, it all is really within our reach. It is really in our hands. We can do a lot to achieve those goals. And I'm not just telling that because I love you or because I think of it or because I believe it personally. No, it's because the evidence of science, of medical science, in you name it, you just name any single medical journal, it's going to be there. Any single huge university or medical school, it's in there. You will always find it. You will find it in the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. It used to be called the Center for Disease Control. Now they added the word prevention. So it is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia, which is probably the most important voice in terms of medical statistics in America. And they say that about 40% of all the deadliest diseases that we're facing today, like cancer, like heart disease, vascular disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, high blood pressure, I could go on, but you recognize all those names and none of them sound very pleasant. All of them scare us because we know that we're going to have to deal with a problem that's going to be painful, that's going to produce a lot of suffering, that's going to be expensive, and that's going to disrupt all our life. I have seen so many people that are planning on a wedding and they're planning on something beautiful. And I have known patients that tell me, you know what, my daughter is getting married in November. And I was getting ready because I wanted to walk her to the wedding and walk with her and be in that beautiful party that we're all organizing. And just a month before, I went to the doctor because I had a little ache or pain, and he told me you have cancer. And of course, all that disrupts everything. Or you had a heart attack. Or how many times have we seen, for example, that you're planning something fantastic and beautiful and the person dies because of a stroke or something like that? You don't want to be in that situation. You want to avoid it whenever possible. And prevention is possible because, believe me, we were made in perfection. We're an absolute work of art. I mean, God did such a good job making our bodies and our defense systems and our immunity and our intestinal flora and our brains and our hearts and our lungs and everything that he literally made no mistake as expected from God. But we have done everything possible to ruin that job. And all we have to do is go back to the drawing board and say, I'm going to start doing what I have to do. I have to be obedient. I have to see how I was created and what can I do. And when you read about medical prevention of deadly diseases or medical management of deadly diseases, there are things that repeat and come back and come back and come back. And you say, well, is it that everything is absolutely connected? Yes, everything is absolutely connected. So when you talk about cancer or diabetes or any degenerative disease for that purpose, there are things that keep coming back. And that is what we eat, how often we eat, how we rest, how we sleep, how active we are. And all that put together is what makes a healthy body. If we don't sleep well, if we're always in panic or afraid, if we eat garbage, if we drink a lot, if we smoke, if we take refined sugars, if we do anything that's going to be harmful to our body, of course we can expect that something is going to go wrong sooner or later. And the problem is that it's becoming sooner every time, every year. Life expectancy in America for the first time stopped growing in the last four or 5 years. And we just have to wait a little bit and see if it's going to start climbing back or it's going to start going down. Some researchers say that we are coming to the times where we were going to be burying our children. Used to be that you're as a young person or during your life, you understand that one day your parents will be gone. Ever since you have a little bit of conscience, you know someday your parents will be gone. But how many of you think of the day your children will be gone? We don't like it. We don't even have a word for it. An orphan is somebody that loses their parents. And a widow is somebody that loses the spouse. But we don't have a word for it. So, number one, I want you to reflect on everything I'm talking because I think it's very important. It's very important that you keep your health. After all, you're your best asset. Nothing, no investment, no real estate, no nothing is going to produce the money you can produce for your family. But on the other hand, because you have people to take care of, and not necessarily means that you're going to go and feed them or take care of them or take out the cigarette. But it means to share knowledge. It's sharing information. It's educating people to make healthier choices so they can prevent and they can have better lives with much more strength, stamina, good feeling, well-being, and good mood. Because believe it or not, good mood derives from good health. You cannot be happy and enjoying everything if your health is broken. So just about all everything within your body is interconnected. And that's what I want you to think. That's why I want you to listen to these programs of Truth Be Told Radio Network, to share this information. I would love you to share the information, because I feel this like a quest. I want to see how many people can hear the message, how many people can take it on. And if you help me, I'm going to be very grateful. So share the word. And all you have to do is tell people, why don't you listen to this message? Why don't you listen to this broadcast? All you have to do is go to Spotify and search Truth Be Told Radio Network. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, you name it. Right now, it is so many social media that I kind of have lost even track of how many are there. But nevertheless, they're all very important, because they help us to share, to be able to communicate with you and with everyone. And that communication is going to hopefully inspire you to learn more about your health, and hopefully give you the guidelines to do it. But you don't have to wait, or you don't have to figure out anything. If you go to the social media of your choice, you can ask me. You can ask questions free of charge, no strings attached. All you have to do is give me your question. I'll try to give you my best answer. If you want to make a comment, if you have any doubt, if there's anything in your brain that you'd like to share or communicate or discuss, I'm absolutely open. I love talking to people. I love answering these questions. You see? So just let me know. Let me know, because if you don't ask a question, you will never get an answer. So I want you to think of all of this. And today we're talking about cancer prevention. So I want you to stay with me, because this is a very important message for you and everyone you love. My dear friends, I'm back with you, and I'm talking about cancer prevention. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I think this is a very important subject. Because what happens if instead of having 100 patients with cancer, we would only have half of them? And the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia, tells me that if I do certain simple rules, if I follow those rules, I can avoid 40, 45, 50% of the most common cancers. So not only that, but there's a little something here that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. When you try to prevent cancer, when you do anything that you think is going to prevent cancer, you have so many bonuses that you cannot start to believe it. You see, I think this is like some of those TV programs when they tell you, if you buy this vacuum cleaner, I'm going to give you the duster, the extra bags, an extra brush, the car attachment, and blah, blah, blah. You're going to get all of them for the price of the vacuum cleaner. Call today, order your vacuum cleaner today, because you're going to have all these added bonuses to your purchase. Well, I'm in the same mood today. And I'm going to tell you things that are very much remind me that type of marketing situation. If you start seriously thinking that you want to avoid a degenerative disease like cancer, and you start following the rules, you will be able to go. Let me make a small parenthesis here. You're going to be able to go to our social media, to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, anyone, to our web page, and you're going to see my 10 rules for preventing cancer. They're going to be simply put, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 rules that you can do to prevent cancer. But if you follow them, here goes the selling point of your vacuum cleaner. If you follow them, I can tell you that you're going to be not only reduces the chances of getting cancer, but also you're going to be reducing the chances of getting diabetes. You're going to lower the chances of getting high blood pressure. You're going to lower the chances of getting Alzheimer's. You're going to be lowering the chances of heart and vascular disease, which, by the way, heart and vascular disease are the number one killer in America. So I'm going to get a lot of benefits just by trying to prevent one degenerative disease. Isn't that wonderful? And you say, well, how can you do that? How can you say that if I work on cancer prevention, I'm going to be helping heart disease? And the answer is very simple. Because all the illnesses that I have talked about are a group of illnesses that are called the chronic, degenerative, inflammatory diseases. All of them. All of them belong to a single group. Not only that, but they have, in many ways, common causes. They originate by common causes. So if I prevent one, I'm going to prevent other things. Let's say I tell you, for example, let me give you a simple example. I tell you, when you go to the party tonight, don't drink. And you don't drink. What benefit you got? 1, 2, 3, think again. You got a lot of benefits. Number 1, you were able to enjoy it a lot better. You never lost control of yourself. You made good friends. Then you drove very safely home. Then you slept very well because you were not overwhelmed by alcohol. And you avoided probably diseases or regurgitation or you name it. So by not doing one thing, which we know is healthy, I'm going to be getting a lot of benefits. Same. If I tell you don't eat that donut, don't eat that sugar, you're going to feel better. Your acid reflux is going to improve. You're going to not gain weight. You're not going to be disturbed emotionally, which is something people don't see because of the sugar levels. And you're going to be saving your insulin for better causes than just deal with a donut. So every time we do something that's beneficial to the body, it helps many areas. And when we see how cancers begin, we can see a lot of common things to other degenerative diseases. So at the bottom line of most of these diseases, we have inflammation. Inflammation is a mechanism of defense. It's very valuable. It is very important. Suffice to tell you that if I didn't have any inflammatory response in my body, I would be dead. It's very important for life. But what happens with inflammation? Inflammation was designed to deal with emergencies in the body. Let's say I'm in a car accident. There's a lot of inflammation in my body. When you take that person out of the car, you're going to see that's swollen, that's red, that's hot, that's everything. Greeks knew about it. And Greeks were talking about all those symptoms I'm telling you. If you put a hammer in your finger, it's going to get fat, red, hot. That's inflammation. Okay? Inflammation comes from the Latin word flame, which is fire. That's what inflammation is, setting things on fire. And what happens is that when you break cells, when you damage cells, those cells are going to release chemicals that are going to tell the body, I have an emergency here. What do? You send a lot of blood, you send a lot of cells, you send a lot of proteins and healing materials, and then you have to carry out all the debris, all the dead cells. You have to do all these things. Who does that? The blood. So that's why you have to bring a lot of blood. Then, when the emergency is over, everything comes back to normal. But what happens if I do something to my body that's going to be identified as an aggressor? So I'm producing a little inflammatory response many times a day because I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. One of the biggest offenders is refined sugar. So I have a donut, and then I have a soda pop, and then I have my healthy cereal. You can read the labels and see how much sugar it has. And I'm triggering inflammatory responses all day long. And then I drink, and then I smoke, and then I go late to bed. All those things trigger inflammation. Why? Because God made us to live in a certain way. And if we break those rules, well, we pay the price. I had a teacher that told us life is like a buffet. You go through it and you can pick whatever you want, put it on your tray. Don't forget that at the end of that line, there's going to be a cashier, and he's going to charge you according to what you have on your tray. So you can do whatever, but don't forget that at the end you might have to pay a price. And that price could be very high or could be very low. So when we don't have to know, we have to start thinking of that. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to reflect on those things, because to me, they make sense. Let me focus a little bit on refined sugar, because many people tell me, but what's wrong with sugar? After all, it's a food. It's a God-made food. Yes, it is. Sugar is a God-given fruit, but not refined sugar. That is an industrial product. If you take a good look, a simple look, and I teach at the University of Baja Medical School, and I put an assortment of things on the table, like wheat, like honey, like molasses, and then like raw sugar. And I show it to my students. I said, if you wanted to choose one thing, one common thing to all of these, we should be. And I don't know if you know the answer, but to me, it's also very obvious. All of them are brownish, aren't they? When you look at honey, it resembles the color of wheat. It resembles the color of molasses, of raw sugar. All of them are kind of brownish. None of them are white. And what is the importance of that? Well, that God knew that carbohydrates need chromium to be successfully utilized. And he put chromium in all of these things which make them brownish. What we do, I don't know. I don't know when it happened, but all of a sudden somebody thought that white sugar was better looking than molasses. That white flours was a lot better looking than the color of wheat. And we started producing refined sugar and refined white flour. And then we started with problems because that food is not anymore the food that God made. See, we should eat the foods as God made them and process them the least. But if we don't do that rule, we might be encountering problems like we are encountering with sugar. Sugar is probably the biggest offender in terms of chronic inflammation. And we have it so readily available, so inexpensive, so easy to obtain, and so palatable that we have problem with it. Don't go anywhere. I want to keep on talking with you. My dear friends, we are ready to go and continue with this broadcast. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it a lot because this is the type of message that I love to give people. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I have been a doctor for over 50 years. And believe me, it's not always easy. It is in many times very painful because you're sharing with a lot of people some of the worst moments in their lives. When they get a terrible diagnosis, when they deal with a lot of pain, and when somebody loses somebody they really love. Those are painful moments. And every time I see this, I always wonder, what can we do? I mean, do we really have to go through all of this? How can I help these people before they get to this stage? And believe me, I have many, many, many patients that tell me, I wish I would have known about this long time ago. And I think the same way. When I see a patient, many times I think, I wish I would have seen this person a year ago. I wish I would have seen them 10 years ago. I could have told them what was approaching and how we could prevent it, or how we could make it milder, how we could deal with it in a different way. And that's what I talk about. And I have talked about it for many, many years. I mean, ever since I started being a doctor, I was talking to a patient with a problem and many times saying, you have this problem. You see that it's not easy. You see that it is expensive. You see that it is painful. What about your children? Why don't we start a plan? And actually, I created a line of supplements that were specifically created for prevention. And I had simple things in mind. I wanted to give them the best protection possible in the smallest amount of pills possible. Because I know young people say, oh, Mom, I'm not sick. I don't have anything. I'm not going to be taking a bunch of this. I'm not going to be taking chromium or omega-3 or whatever you want me to take. No, I don't want to do that. Well, but what about if I tell them just take this pill? That's going to give you basic antioxidants like vitamin E and things like that. And then you say, we have a start. And then we have to convince them that if you don't want to take omega-3s, you should at least have fish twice a week. So there are many things, many ways in which we can introduce them in better health and more prevention. And the bottom line is you have to be talking about it day in and day out. And when you go to dinner, when you're sitting with your family, it's very important that you talk about what you're eating. Oh, I bought this wonderful multi-grain bread. And look at the color. It's not white. Why? Because it's loaded with chromium. Chromium is what God gave us to deal with carbohydrates. See? And I bought this beautiful piece of vegetable. And etc., etc. And I bought this organic chicken, free range organic chicken, because I want you to eat substance. I want you to eat something that will produce a lot of benefit to your body. After all, remember that what we eat is what's going to make us. If we eat garbage, that's what we're going to have. So we have to learn how to deal with our body. And in talking about cancer, in my 10 rules, the number one problem is cigarette smoking. There is no way. I can discuss many things. I can tell you that some people say, doctor, what about this? And well, some reports says yes, some reports say no, some reports say the other. Yeah, if you do this, you could kind of control it, etc. But when it comes to tobacco, I don't think there is not a soul that's behind it. It's bad. It's bad for you. It's heavily contaminated with chemicals you do not want in your body. That's probably the biggest problem. It's addictive. It's addictive because it has nicotine, and nicotine is very addictive. If you don't believe me, ask anyone that's smoking, stop smoking. And of course, you can find the typical person that tells you, oh, I don't have any problem with tobacco. I can quit any time. I have actually quit 20 times in my life. That's, for many people, that's quitting. Well, tobacco has everything that's wrong for your body. It will raise your blood pressure. It will produce heart attacks. It will produce strokes. It produces vascular problems. I have seen people with gangrene that have to be amputated. So it's not only cancer. And of course, lung cancer, tongue cancer, kidney cancer. There's different cancers that are associated to cigarette in spite of not being in the path of the respiratory tree. Now, in this case, don't make the mistake. Passive smoking is as bad. I have seen people with emphysema, with lung cancer, whose only sin was to live with a heavy smoker. Because the father or the mother smoke all day long, smoke in the house, smoke in the bedroom, smoke everything, and the children were getting the smoke. And they get to have all the diseases of a heavy smoker. And you ask them and they say, I never smoked, doctor. But I worked in this office where everybody smoked. That's why the laws became so drastic. Well, if you want to smoke, okay, eat your smoke yourself, but don't share it with anybody else. It's that simple. Let's talk about the second one, which is very important, and that's overweight and obesity. This is an area where we can start pushing and moving a little bit. But the truth is that obesity and overweight are behind a lot of the chronic degenerative disease. And let me tell you, I was talking before about the interconnection of every function of every part of the body. And what happens with obesity and overweight is that typically anyone that has this problem has a chain of metabolic mistakes in their lives. They eat badly, they have very bad choices, they eat too much, they have very little physical activity, and on and on and on. You can tell. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to ask me. You can tell somebody that has a lot of weight what? Or he drinks a ton of beer every day. Or he eats donuts and soda pop all day. Or he has these huge uh, pizzas every day. So all these we can tell. We can tell people that have very poor lifestyle choices. And then they go and sit down in a couch and watch TV and do nothing. And for them, fun is to drink and order chicken wings and watch a football game. So they don't play football, and they have all the opinions. Oh, they did this wrong. They do that wrong. They never played it. So it's not surprising that people that have very poor choices in their lives have a chronic degenerative disease, in this case, cancer. Watch processed foods and meats in particular, like ham and bacon and so forth. It used to be that ham, you know how ham was made? Well, they took a piece of a leg of pork and put some salt in it, and then they hang it and let it dry, and nature, God, did the job. Today, we fill it with chemicals, nitrates in particular. They deliver the flavor, and you can have ham in probably a week instead of 2 months or 6 months. If you buy some Spanish hams, they have been for 2 years hanging in those places just to wait for nature to do its magic. Here, no, here it's very short time, and then you have your meats. So if you want to do anything like that, you can go to YouTube, and there are many tutorials. You can learn how to do it. It's fun, but eat food from scratch. Don't buy processed foods. Processed foods always play tricks. And it plays tricks because they always have something you shouldn't have. And when you read the labels are even trickier every day. Every day we're seeing more things that we don't understand because they don't want you to understand. Avoid them. The next one is get to know your family history. And I'm going to tell you why. Because even though we have not been able to absolutely prove that cancer is a hereditary disease, in other words, that parents can give it to children, it is very connected in family trees. And some researchers say because they share lifestyles. We eat the same thing, we exercise the same way. That's why if you want a healthy you have to have a healthy family. So talk to them, help them. And come on, go to Spotify, search Truth Be Told Radio Network and listen to Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez. You're going to find a lot of advices. You can listen to it on the way to work on the radio, or you can do it at home. One day you have nothing better to do, but I'm sure it'll educate it. We'll educate you and we'll give you information. So we have to learn that family history to know, well, my father had prostate cancer, my grandfather too. I'm going to check it before it is late. The next one is food, physical activity. Those are very much together with chronic inflammatory diseases, but we'll talk about them in the next segment. So stay with me, please. My friends, we're talking about ways to prevent cancer. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez with Truth Be Told Radio Network. And we have discussed about tobacco. We have talked about overweight, and obesity itself. We have talked about chemicals added to food when the food is processed, like in processed meats and packaged food. And we have talked about your family history. Now, I want to talk about something which is very important, which is physical activity. Physical activity is like one of those areas that has been completely ignored and neglected in the past few years, or I should say decades, because all of a sudden we got a car. So we didn't have to use public transportation. At least we used to walk to the public transportation, and they take a bus and climb and go down and then walk to our work or school. We don't do that anymore. They drive us from door to door. We go to the market and we look for the place closest to the entrance. So we can save, 50 steps? But we do that. I can see people circling. And if you go to any big shop, you're going to see that this is the door. Here are all the cars packed. No one wants to park behind because they're going to walk 20 more steps. And then you go to your office and you sit down and you get up and go to your coffee break and sit down, and then you leave the office and then get on your car, get to your house and do the least things possible. So physically talking, we're spending nothing. We're using nothing of our bodies. And that has brought a lot of consequences. It is very important that we understand that there has to be a balance. Get this in your head, an energy balance in your life. What is that? An energy balance is very simple. How many calories I eat, how many calories I spend. If I do less, I should eat less. It's so frequent that I tell some patient and I say, oh, you have been gaining weight. Doctor, because of the pandemic, I couldn't go to the gym. Well, if you cannot go to the gym, eat less. Try to keep a balance between what you eat and what you do. And the less you do physically, the less food you're going to need. It makes sense, but we don't do it. We stop going to the gym because we twisted our ankle, but we continue to eat the same amount, if not more, because now we're sitting in the couch, so I'm having my ice cream and so forth. So physical activity is a very important part of health. So walk a little bit more, move a little bit more, get 30 minutes of walking. I tell everybody, you go to the market, with these huge markets we have today, go in there, grab your cart and go around the thing for 30 minutes. Then you buy. And park away from the door so you have extra 50 steps, extra 100 steps. If need be, get one of those step counters. They're not going to make you walk more, but will make you more aware of how little physical activity we do. There's a very interesting study that was done in the United Kingdom where they take a group of people with a personal trainer in the gym and a group with a cleaning supervisor at home. And they had to clean the house and move the furniture and vacuum clean and do the steps and do the curtains. You know who spent more calories? People that were cleaning thoroughly their homes. So you don't have to go to the gym. Stop looking for excuses. Do yourself a favor. Have a deep cleaning at home every time you have a chance. And clean your house and do things and wipe and sweep the floor and swipe the front of your house. You can do a lot of things. And it goes tied with food because we're talking about energy balance. Because food is the other part. We have to eat healthier. We eat foods that are an absolute disgrace. pizzas that are not pizzas. If you look at a tutorial on how to make a pizza, they're good foods, they're tomato, they're cheese, they're all these things. Cheeses in a cheese place for pizzas, they're not real cheese. It looks like cheese, but it's a vegetable fat flavored and disguised as a cheese. That's why they are so cheap. You couldn't sell a pizza for $3-4 if it had cheese. We are buying junk, literally junk. And if you put that type of junk, let's say in your car, you're going to have a piece of junk. And that's what we're getting. We're getting junk bodies because we feed them very bad. We were talking about refined sugar. What about vegetable oils? Well, they're in that cheese, they're in mayo, they're in bottled salad dressings, they're in ice cream. Ice cream is not cream. Cream comes from a cow. This is vegetable oil with sugar. That's what you're eating. You expect to be healthy eating that? Of course not. So we have tobacco, we have overweight, we have physical activity, we have processed foods, we have your family history, you have your food, and in the same line, as you can see, everything is connected. Chemicals in your life. We bring so many chemicals to our home. I see it in the supermarket. We buy a cleanser, we buy a detergent, we buy a deodorizer, we buy, you name it. Those are chemicals. Don't bring them home. Your home is the most sacred place to you. Don't bring garbage to your home. And all those things are garbage. If it's dirty, well, clean better. Use a steamer. Steamer, after all, is just water. See? Use a little bit more, 10% more effort in cleaning, but don't rely on a chemical that on top of that is going, if you have children, is going to start getting toxic material in their bodies from very early age. And then they have already a handicapped beginning. So don't bring chemicals to your life because that is absolutely very bad. And to finish with this, I want to talk about things that worry me. One is, again, part of it, which is fiber. We have to make sure we eat enough fiber because from that depends the well-being of our intestinal flora. And our intestinal flora is what's going to keep our immunity, our hormonal, our mood systems in good shape. If you're bloated, constipated, or anything like that, start acting right now. Get help. Connect with me. Ask a question. Tell me what's happening. I have a lot of little tricks under this sleeve that are going to play very good. And when we start putting all these things together, the only thing we have to do now is to be very watchful. Watchful of what? Well, I always tell people, for example, when you are going to board a plane, you have seen that the pilot goes under the plane and walks around and looks at this thing and looks if there are any leakages, if there's any tire that doesn't look good, we take a good look at that. Probably you do the same thing when you're about to take a long vacation on your car. You will go around it. You check it. You see if there's not any oil drips or anything like that. You open the hood and make sure everything looks okay. You don't need any tools, just your eyes and good observation. Well, I ask people to do that. You get out of the shower, get in front of a full-length mirror, and just take a good look. Are you like every day? Are there any moles, any lumps, anything that shouldn't be there? You have any ache, pain, any problem? Are you exactly the same, in the same situation as ever? Good for you. But if something happens, now you are on the lookout. You're going to watch for an early sign and symptom. You're going to be able to do something about it very early. And remember that in cancer, as in any other disease, the earlier you make the diagnosis, the better results you're going to have. Treatments are going to be more successful. Either going to be shorter, and they're going to be less expensive. So we have to be on the lookout. Make sure we are watching ourselves for problems that might be coming our way. And at that point is the point where you have to say, I have to act upon it. I have to do something. I have to be proactive. Don't sit down. Don't wait. You can take our toll-free number. You can call 800-701-7345, and you can say, I want to talk to the doctor. And you're going to be connected to one of our doctors that's going to listen to you, that's going to have a good conversation with you, that's going to probably ask some questions and put good ideas together and help you to take the following steps. But you have to be proactive. You have to do something. Or you can send the comment, send the question in the platform you choose, in the social media you choose. You can put it on Facebook. You can put it in our website, biocarehospital.com, or you can go to any other form, to Instagram or Twitter, and say, Doctor, I've noticed this, or I feel that. Any suggestions? Anything you can think of? Anything I should be worried about? We can say, oh yeah, this is frequent. It could happen. These people probably ask you some questions back and forth and give you a guidance. So you don't even have to leave your home. You can call BioCare and start doing it. Which, by the way, brings me to the fact that everything I have been talking about is biocaring yourself. And when I say BioCare, I want you to reflect on the fact that bio is the Greek rule for life. That's what BioCare means, taking care of your life. And when you do that, you're going to be getting a lot of benefits. And I want you to think of that because I want you to BioCare yourself and BioCare those that you love.